I'm Phil Norris, and I wrote a book called New Roads to Old Places. And it's set in Montgomery in the 1960s when I was a teenage boy. Today I want to take you back to August of 1962 and what was going on in Montgomery, where the novel is set, and what is going on in the South. Bombings, murders, churches being burned. Segregationists were on the rampage all through the South, and including Montgomery. But I want to tell you a good story. I want to tell you a story that will warm your heart, and it's about a young man named Robert L. Cobb. And Robert L. Cobb wanted to go to the Montgomery Library and check out a book. He was 18 years old, and he'd been selected by the Southern Christian Leadership Conference to go and challenge the no African Americans in the public library. He walked in, he went up to the front desk, and he said, "I would like to check out a book, please." And they said, "You are a Negro, you can't be in here." And he said, "I want to check out a book." And they said, "You have to leave." And he left. He went to Frank M. Johnson Jr.'s courthouse, a federal judge in Montgomery, Alabama. And he filed a lawsuit and said, "I want to be able to go to the Montgomery Library and check out a book." Well, guess what was happening in the South? When you filed a petition, it took months, years to get a hearing before a judge. Frank Johnson had a hearing the next week. And the week after that, he ordered the Montgomery Library to give Mr. Cobb a library card and let him use the library. The city council was under a federal court order to integrate the library. And what did they do? They took the furniture out of the library so patrons could not sit down together. But guess what? Mr. Cobb went up to the desk, filled out a form, and got his orange library card. I had one. It was always interesting because it was orange. What kind of cards were orange? He got his orange library card. He checked out a book, and he went home. And on Monday, guess what happened? 9 young African Americans showed up at the library and said, "We want to get our library card." Who was there? The mayor was there. The FBI was there. The city police were there at the library when these 9 young African Americans came in to get their library card. And guess what? They all checked out books. They all got their orange library cards. Integration had begun in the library system. Who did this? An 18-year-old young man walked in there, walked into that library and said, "I want to check out a book." He knew that he was standing for much more than getting a book. And so this is a tale and a story of bravery, of courage. It is progress on the new road to a new South. And that is what this novel is about. I have another library story that goes with the one from 1962, and it's modern day. It just occurred a few months ago. I live in Fairhope, Alabama, and the library was asked to remove books from the teen section because the Republican establishment of Alabama, the chairman of the state library board, decided he didn't like the selections that the librarians in Fairhope made. And guess what? They cut the money from the state off to the library, and the citizens of Fairhope made it up, not just $42,000 that they cut. They raised $90,000 in 2 days. This community is not going to be told what good literature is, and it's a parallel story to Mr. Cobb and his bravery and the librarians in Fairhope that stood up and said, "No, we're not going to be told by politicians what we can put in our library." Where are we in the novel in August of '62? Well, we meet Pip Cooper. We meet his next door neighbor, Mrs. Katz, who is, by the way, a Jewish psychologist from New York City who's been living in Montgomery for 10 years. And she is quite a character.